If you're a football fan, we're coming up on your favorite time of year. But as Christians, we should be ready to suit up for Christ whenever he calls, in whatever situation. We'll get in our 3-point stance for the Lord tonight on EWTN Live, so please stay with us. Thank you very much and welcome. I'm Father Mitch and welcome to EWTN Live, our chance to bring you guests from all over the world. Before we come to our guests, I want to mention 2 things. One, today is the feast of St. Maximilian Kolbe. He was born in 1894 and didn't live very long at all. He had done tremendous ministry as a Franciscan, using the modern media, print and brand new radio, in order to evangelize in Poland, which was really a new country, but also torn up by a lot of political turmoil and temptations away from the faith. But he was arrested after the Germans invaded in 1939, September. He was put eventually into a concentration camp, Auschwitz. The Germans called it Auschwitz. And so that one man, they chose 10 men to die, and one man said he had a family, and St. Maximilian chose to die in his place by being starved to death. Eventually they gave him an injection on this date, August 14th, 1941. Also, I want your prayers. Very serious situation. I heard that I went to Al Jazeera news on the internet, and 17 Christian churches have been burned in Egypt. The Christians a number of them were killed, and they didn't do anything. The military was doing something against the Islamists and the Muslim Brotherhood, but Christians get their churches burned and they die. Pray for our brothers and sisters in Christ in Egypt and Syria and Iraq and elsewhere. It's very difficult for them, so do, especially as we get ready for Our Lady's Feast tomorrow, pray for them. Now, tonight we have some guests, and they cover not big geographical, but generational gaps. There are 2 different age groups, but they have the same purpose at heart: to encourage men, young and old, to come back to the church if they've left, or to open their eyes to and the lives to the grace and the mercy of God for the first time, if they haven't yet. And they're doing that this week here at EWTN, taping new episodes of Crossing the Goal. You'll recognize one of them for sure. Please welcome former NFL All-Pro wide receiver and coach, Danny Abramowitz, and also from ID 916 Ministries, Pete Burek, and from Focus, which is the Fellowship of Catholic University Students. Please welcome Sam Mazzarelli. Good to see you guys. Good to see you. Welcome.
Thanks, Bob.
Well, Danny, you're bringing up some of the young whippersnappers on the show.
Snapping right at our tail, man. They're
I
right
know.
after
Well, I
our...
figured with you, it's the 40-year-olds that are the young whippersnappers.
I know.
These guys here.
I know. They just came on. We did a series, as I said, Jesus said, sort of questions that Jesus asked in the scriptures.
Sure.
Controversial questions.
Sure.
And we say, wow, that's pretty strong. But do we mean we have to follow that too? Yeah, we got to do that.
We do.
That's what Jesus said. And then we did an 8-part series. And then we gave the young people, they took over the whole set from introduction to everything, and they did 4 shows, which they'll talk about in their particular ministry, how to evangelize to the young adult population. And that can give you the age group. I think it's college all the way through up.
Let's find out who these young men are.
Yeah.
You are Pete Burak, right?
That's right.
Where are you from?
I'm from Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Good to have you.
Born and raised, so true blue Michigan fan all the way.
Yeah. Good. One of these days you'll have Michigan come down here to Alabama and play some real football. But
yeah, we did that last year, and that didn't work out so well. So
we liked it.
Yeah, I'm sure you did.
But at any rate, what do you do now?
Yeah, so I work for ID 916.
What does ID 916 mean? Is this a cologne? What is it?
No. The ID stands for our identity.
Okay.
Is to be an intentional disciple.
Okay.
And the 916 comes from 1 Corinthians 9:16.
Okay.
So Paul is pretty much saying the crux of it is, woe to me if I do not preach the gospel.
Okay.
So the reason we like that verse is to be an intentional disciple means somebody who is going out and making disciples.
Sure.
And so ID 916 is an outreach of renewal ministries, which, Dr. Ralph Martin and Peter Herbeck and Sister Ann Shields have been doing for many years. And just recently we've decided to move into the field of young adults, which is the 20s and 30s, and really go after them and say, this is what we're called to, not just kind of wishy-washy Catholicism, but being an intentional disciple of Jesus Christ.
Now, see, I'm not too far different in age from Danny.
Right.
And I remember when those same 3 founders you're talking about were working on renewal ministries when they were in their 20s.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's good to sort of get a new generation coming up to do that.
Yeah.
And Sam, where are you from?
Yeah, I grew up in Longmont, Colorado, which is right outside Boulder,
Oh,
Colorado.
yeah.
Yep.
Gorgeous territory out there.
It is, yeah.
And what do you do?
So I work with Focus, the Fellowship of Catholic University Students, and I'm a regional director for the Southern Plains area of the country. So I help oversee all of our campuses in the Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas area of the country.
Sure. So, and there are quite a few in that region, I understand.
Yeah, we have about 14 campuses in that little part
Just
of the
in that
country.
region?
Yep.
Focus is really just blossomed. And it's so great to see, because everywhere I travel, I hear great things about Focus. It's a wonderful ministry.
Let him tell you a little bit of
how
many campuses they're on.
One of the things I just also want to figure out, just let people know, you both have been on Crossing the Goal before, haven't you?
That's right.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
Okay.
Last year.
So with Danny's question, how many campuses are there for Focus nationwide?
Yeah, this year we'll be on 83 campuses. 12 of them will be brand new this year, but 83 total with about 400 missionaries.
400 Focus missionaries. And there's a big Focus get-together in the wintertime, I understand. There was one last winter.
In January.
In Orlando, I think it was.
Yep, and we had just over 6,000 students join us down in Orlando for about 5 days, where we were able to hopefully introduce them to Jesus Christ and help them and equip them to be able to share their faith with their friends back at the universities that they attend, and with their families and their parishes that they're either a part of or will be a part of soon.
Okay. Now, Danny, just so I understand, are these 2 young men on the same program as you, or they're just doing their own episodes of Crossing the Goal?
Well, we haven't determined exactly where we're going to go in the future. We're looking at it with the social media things. It might be not only TV, but other things, and they can get in. I'd like you to get into that with them. Yeah. What we wanted to do is bring them on slowly. You were very astute by picking up they were on before. We do our 8 series or 9 show, whatever we were going to do, and then we brought them on as guests to sort of introduce some young adult people to the ministry. Me as a board member of EWTN, I want our demographics to start getting some young people in the mix also. So how do you do that? You bring young people on.
How many young people did you bring on altogether this time?
We had 6 this time, yeah. And we didn't have them all on the set at one time. And they prepared their own stuff. They did the whole thing. We sort of told them, the parameters, and then they sort of took it from that. They did the introduction, the lead-ins, the cutouts, and it was pretty neat. I can remember, like, when I was ready for the first kickoff, how nervous I was. I was looking at these guys. We went back there. I said, let's get out of the studio. Them guys was like revved up. When that red light goes on, it changes the ball game, you know. But they did a great job, and you know, they got a great ministry. When you start talking about the number of campuses they're on and what they're doing, and these guys too are young fathers. They just
you both dads?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
What'd you get?
I have a little girl. Her name is Grace.
Yeah.
I have 3. I have 2 girls and a boy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Miriam's our oldest, and then we have Kiara, and then Ambrose is the
Oh,
youngest.
that's great.
Yeah.
Oh, congratulations to both of you.
Thank you.
And you know, just watch those little girls. They just charm you, don't they?
Oh, yeah, she already has me wrapped around her finger.
Of course she does.
Yeah, for sure.
That's great.
But what we'll, you know, with the 8, with the 4, and then we'll probably come back again next time with 8 and 4. Probably get into next time leadership. The big thing out there now is leadership, and we're thinking about praying on it and see if that's the thing, and then sort of go from there. What do we want to do to separate it out or leave it part of Crossing the Goal ministry? We don't know that yet.
Now, we also have a few of the other guys in our studio audience.
Yeah.
You know, who are they? Who are the other
Why don't
guys?
you guys stand up out there, introduce yourself real quick.
My name is Ben Domang, and I work with Fellowship of Catholic University students also.
So they don't have mics on, so I'll have to do it. It's Ben Domang and Joy McCoy, the other young man over there. So good to have you here with us. Keep good. Try to run herd on, Danny. Now, what is it that y'all see as your goal in what you're doing with say, ID 916? Let's start off with that.
Yeah. So our goal with ID 916, in the simplest form, is to bring young adults and help them develop into intentional disciples of Jesus Christ.
Okay.
That's what we're all about.
What do you mean by intentional?
Not on accident, on purpose. So somebody who's heard the call from the Lord to say, come follow me, and responded, yes, that I'm going to follow him, that I'm going to submit myself to the Lordship of Jesus Christ.
So not just because, well, my mom and dad dragged me to church, and I got to go, and all, and I'm still living at home, so might as well. But no, it's
got to be something that you make a decision to do. And we've really realized that we need to help people into that encounter with the Lord, that relationship, that lasting relationship with Jesus. And then what we've realized, and we actually laid out what we call the 4 pillars of discipleship, that luckily are not our idea, but have come from the popes and everything, which are conversion, communion, orthodoxy, and mission. So the intentional disciple is someone who's been converted, who said yes to Jesus. When they do that, he leads us into communion with other people, you know, other intentional disciples.
And with Christ himself.
And with Christ himself in the highest form in the Eucharist, right? And orthodoxy, we put that pillar out there because it doesn't really make sense unless we're under the truth that the church has given us. You know, if we're just trying to make our own truth.
If this is, you know, just made up and just how you feel, you know, might as well just go to Disney World or something.
Right, exactly. And then the 4th one, mission. And this is the one that we've been trying to stress a lot is, you know, you could be living in under the first 3. You can be converted, living communion, and love the teaching of the church. But if you're not actively going out and making disciples wherever the Lord has called you, then something's missing. And that's the piece that we really feel like we want to put forth with young adults and say, come, get to know Jesus, live in communion with us, help us. We're going to teach you what it means to be a disciple so that then you can go make disciples yourself.
Now, do you bring some of that perspective to the Crossing the Goal show? How do you integrate that with being on this show?
I think they work very well together. You know, Crossing the Goal is an evangelistic outreach. And so that's really what we're about. Crossing the Goal is all about helping men realize their true identity as a son of Jesus, right? And a son and a disciple. And so I think they work very well together to just introduce people to Jesus, introduce them to what he teaches, and hopefully get them fired up to go make disciples themselves.
Sure.
And it's the age bracket is different, but me as a father and a grandfather, I want to figure out how these young people think.
Sure.
So what I think will happen, if you want to go evangelize young people, you need young people. Because if I go do it, they'll listen, but they'll say, he's already been, he's down the road, you know, I understand that. My deal's different. Well, then when they hear from them, I know you're going to say something, but from them, they'll hear it says it's more believable. when they hear it from them. And that's why we sort of incorporate these young men into the ministry. Because another thing is, fathers of college-age students, you know, kids are going to talk to their dads and moms and give them this much information. Whereas if they watch a program like this, they're going to figure out, this is what's going on, this is what's happening, this is what I like for my son and daughter to do. So I think it's a natural.
Yeah, I was thinking, you know, when you said that they don't listen to us older folks,
yeah, right.
because something that Bill Cosby had said, you know, he said, don't believe that my parents are nice. They're just nice now because they're just so close to dying. They want to be nice for Jesus.
I told these young people, you know, this gray-haired bald head, use some of that experience. I could help you out a little bit, man.
Sam, also for you, in terms of your ministry with Focus, tell us a little bit about that and how that comes into play in what you're doing on Crossing the Goal.
Yeah, well, Focus, our whole mission is to go onto a college campus where young people are being torn apart in all different ways with, I mean, it's really just the pinnacle of all the issues in our society right now. So it's basically throwing your son or daughter to the wolves. And faith is just being abused. All faiths are just being abused academically. And so to be able to go onto a college campus and to be able to preach the love and mercy of Jesus Christ to fallen away Catholics, or to just support those that are faithful, but then also for the brethren that's separated from the church, or those that are completely lost and have never heard the message of Jesus Christ, and to be able to win them over to the person of Jesus Christ and His church, and then to be able to build them up as disciples of Christ, and give them the tools to not only live a good Christian life, but then also give them the skills to be able to be sent out and to evangelize their peers or wherever they go. And I'm really excited about ID 916 because as our graduates involved in our program graduate, they're becoming parishioners. And there's not a whole lot for a recent college grad in a parish. And it's really hard to get them plugged into a parish and to be able to use the training that we've been giving them over the last 4 years. And so hopefully the friendship of ID 916 and Focus will continue, you know.
For sure.
But on the show, they gave us an opportunity to explain some of our methodology and some of our tools and how we actually preach the gospel. How we call somebody to be a disciple of Christ and really uniting Christ and His mission, and then giving them the understanding that prayer is essential for evangelization, and so teaching them how all evangelization starts with prayer. And so we kind of entered into a little bit of intercessory prayer on the show with them, and and then we just,
one of the things that strikes me about the college campuses is that there are two dynamics that are going flat against the faith. On one hand, for too many students, college becomes a way to run away from home and get mom and dad to pay for it. And so that you can do a lot of drinking, fooling around, various sexual encounters are easy. And so there's that attraction to those kind of events. Meanwhile, intellectually, I take that back, with a lot of the faculty, it's pseudo-intellectually. What they do is attack the faith, not with reason and argument, but with sarcasm and the use of their power as professors to punish you with grades if you don't agree with them. And so there's this assault from one hand and attraction another. And that's what you're dealing with these young people.
Yeah, we are. And, you know, if you walk out on a college campus today, it's one of actually the most sad places to be on. You'll walk through the quad, and very few students will actually look in the eyes. They're looking down at the ground. And if you get a chance to pull them aside and talk to them, build a little bit of a relationship with them, and you get to ask them, you know, are you happy? Very few of them realize that what they're doing, you know, partying and entering into all those sins, very few of them are actually pleased with their lifestyle. They just have no other alternative. And there's just not enough Christians there to be able to invite them and to love them into the community of the church.
Two other things I noticed, that in general, atheists have no sense of humor because without God, they can't get any perspective on how small they really are. So they're filled with self-importance, and they take themselves seriously, but are sarcastic, not funny, to everybody else. Yep. And then the same thing happens to these other folks. You know, they don't. I don't find a lot of young people really laughing. They whoop and make noise, but they don't laugh because they don't have anything funny jokes.
Yeah. They just don't know how to live life. No. And that's one of the things that our missionaries are trained to do. It's the reason why we don't have other part-time jobs. We do this full-time, and we fully fundraise each one of our salaries so that we can be present all the time and to just be able to invite them in sharing life together.
Mm-hmm. You know, this is Curtis Martin and his staff has done a tremendous job with this. This is so neat, as you spoke so eloquently about, and he did too, about what the problems are down there. We can say, okay, there's problems. Let's talk about some solutions. These guys are trying to do the solution with Renewal Ministry and Focus, the two outreaches. It's bearing fruits. That's what people understand, that this is bearing. Yeah, it's nipping away. It's huge, but that's how you do it. You nip away a little bit at a time. And what's incredible, and Sam, I want you to share with Father and the listening audience out there, the number of vocations to the religious life and the priesthood as a result of your ministry. Why don't you give a few stats on that?
Yeah, so in the last 15 years, Focus has only been around for about 15 years. This year, we finally got to the number of 10,000 college students in weekly Bible studies. So every week.
You're sort of soft-spoken.
Yeah, right.
I'm not. 10,000 young people in college in Bible studies organized by Catholic kids.
Let's give them a hand out there.
Weekly.
Yep.
Weekly.
Yeah.
Right?
And many of those Bible studies are led by students themselves that we're training to lead Bible studies. But going to the vocations, all the numbers aren't in for this past year, but so this number is a little outdated. But as of last year, it was about 336 men and women who have either entered the seminary or religious life.
Yeah. See, this is part of what all you're doing is, by drawing people closer to Christ, they also learn to listen to what he's asking of them.
They don't stop long enough. They're involved. Young people are so involved with stuff in their ears, texting and stuff. They don't stop to listen to the Lord speak. Yes. You know, they're not happy.
They don't listen to us either.
No, right.
I mean, really, that's a
I live in a building, and mostly my wife and I, we're a couple other older couples in there, and there's a lot of students coming from abroad, and also residents, doctors for residency and things of that nature. They hardly they got stuff in there. They don't even communicate. Like he said, they walk right by you, unless I say, hey, how you doing there? I make them say something to me, So
unlike you.
Yeah, right. But you know what else is amazing? And I want you. So if they don't become priest and religious, tell the number of what happens, the marriages are put together on the campus.
Yeah, tell us about the marriage vocation.
Yeah, that number is actually much larger, and we actually have had a really hard time actually tracking that because of the glow rate. It's not only our staff who are entering into good, holy marriages, but it's students, and then it's friends of students, because as we spiritually multiply, as we bring people and show them how to be an intentional disciple of Jesus Christ and give them the tools to help others, it just exponentially grows. And so that number is much larger than 336. But Curtis just told us that as far as he knows, in 15 years there's been 0 divorces with people involved in our program.
See, one of the things is that you're helping young people see that marriage is not something just to please your parents and have them pay for a huge party. Marriage is a vocation from God.
Absolutely.
God calls you to have your babies wrap you around their finger and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
You know, and have a wonderful wife and you build a life together. This is flat against the culture. And I love it.
See, you know, that's what we have to do. You see out there's so much negative, but listen to the story, what Crossing the Goal is trying to do, and ID 916 and Focus. We want to get the story and find out people, hey, there's some things happening out here. Support this type of group. That's why we did it across the go. We could have stayed doing what we were doing, but we need to move aside some. Let them guys come in and tell the story. Let's get the story out there. Hey, it's not all negative. There's a lot of negative, but I'm about solutions. I know what the problems are out here. Let's talk about solutions. Let's get out here. What did Pope Francis say? Get out. Get out to the people with a simple message. He told the cardinals, the bishops, the priest, and the laity. Get out. Now's the time. The battle's on out here. If we don't know that, then we got our head in the sand.
Yeah, he had a great experience. There's an Argentinian slang where he says, no volcanar. Don't hang out on the balcony.
Exactly.
And watch the parade go by.
Exactly.
You know, it's a great image, you know.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard to translate, but it means just don't let the parade go by. Get in there.
He's going to get people out of their comfort zone. I think, you know, he's making people take up.
I think he's already doing that.
No, I think so, too.
But so are y'all.
Yes.
See, that's the thing. And, you know, are you spreading ID 916 into parishes now, or how are you getting that out there?
Yeah, that's the goal. That's the ultimate vision. We think we have a product, if I can call it that, a program that could really help parishes reach their young adults. But honestly, we're still kind of in the infancy stage right now, and we're trying to test it and trying to figure out what we want to do. So we've been talking with some parishes in the southeast Michigan and actually across the country of people that want to partner with us for the coming year and really see, because one of the things that we can provide them is we live stream all our talks. And so our monthly meeting, we get a guy like Danny Abramowitz up there to give a talk, and with the internet, anybody in the world could watch the talk at the same time and be a part of the community in Ann Arbor. So that's the goal. We would love for this to be started in parishes all over the country.
That's why I'm talking about crossing the goal. Now, one of the things, Danny, that you were doing is talking about your gray hair.
Yeah.
What you have left.
What I got left, that's what I'm saying.
And a lot of times you cover your hair with a hat because you're sort of the coach, right? And one of the things that Ben Dominique did was give you a little bit of grief, not unlike myself. And I always want people to check out when you get grief. So let's take a look at that.
Game plan. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm putting my Danny Abramowitz hat on. I'm being coach. I'm being Coach Danny today. All right. And I'm challenging you because I'm the coach now. And I want to challenge you young people to live out the gospel message. We've already been talking to you and sharing this with you. Look what it's done in our lives. Look at how amazing Christ can use us. And not only challenge you, but if not you, then who? And if not now, then when? And if not the gospel, what are you going to live by? What are you going to preach with your life? How do you want to be remembered when you put your gravestone up? And lastly, this is a joyous ride. We all long for that adventure. We all long for that battle. This is a battle. And you know what? When you realize it, you finally put that armor on, and you walk out on that field, it's awesome. It's awesome. Strap on up, and enjoy the ride.
All right.
Good job there, Ben.
I knew you'd come. So.
Danny, it looks like you trained him well.
Oh yeah, man, Louisiana guy. He
that's right.
Gumbo and etouffee and all that. He's ready.
Yeah, Gideon.
I saw you two guys hit it off hunting together. I mean, you like talking about hunting at dinner tonight.
And we talked a little football.
That's it. You know what I wanted to finish with? He was saying there. Another reason we did these shows also is we can take these DVDs and transfer them to whatever, go Facebook or anything. They can use them for teaching because they can't be in all these places.
That's right.
But parishes can contact them and they have that video and plug that in for small group meetings and stuff like that. The sky's the limit. We do all this stuff for sports and business, which ends, it's temporal.
Right.
The spiritual thing, why don't we use our minds and do out and get out here and step out and take it to another level? When I looked, I don't know about you people out there in the audience and Father Mitch. When I was watching on EWTN, the closing mass, I don't know about you, when they showed that picture of 3 million, the press, they had to say something. They didn't want to say something, the secular press. That's impressive. That means that there's a lot of people that are hungry out here.
Yep.
We need to give them the message, because they're going to get the message out here in the secular world, the wrong message.
Yep.
So we got to step out.
And the difference is the secular people are trying to get something from those 3 million.
Absolutely.
Whereas Pope Francis was trying to give something to them. And they could tell he loves Jesus and he loves them. And that's the key. But one of the keys is that we have also run out of time for this part. We're going to come back in 2 minutes. We want to get your questions and your comments, so please stay with us. Thank you, and welcome back. I just want to mention we've got a really nice group of folks here from Florida, plus a number of families from Minnesota, and from a few individuals from other parts of the country. And we'd love to have you come and join us as well. If you can make a pilgrimage down here, please contact our pilgrimage department. The number is 205-271-2966, or you can go to the website EWTN.com, and they'll give you information about the schedule for masses, the programs you can be in the audience for, tours of the studio. They'll also give you information about different places you can stay, and some of the good food down there. Some great food down here in Alabama. Great barbecue. I don't know if Danny took you to any of that yet. We'd have to get some of that fried green tomatoes right down the street over here at the Arndale Cafe. So come on down and join us. And if you can this Sunday, Saturday and Sunday, come down for the family get-together over here in downtown Birmingham at the Birmingham Jefferson County Civic Center. All right, you all ready for some questions?
All right, yes, indeed.
Giddy up. Start off with the gentleman over here in our studio audience. Sir, where are you from?
I'm from Largo, Florida.
Good to have you here. Welcome. And what's your question?
I'd like to ask Sam if Focus has talked to any of the service academies like West Point or the Air Force Academy, and whether that's a potential area for you to reach people.
Yeah, no, we would love to be on all the military, academies. Right now, we currently serve the Naval Academy and the Coast Guard Academy, and we have been in conversations with West Point and the Air Force Academy, and so I'm hoping very soon that we would be at those academies.
West Point and the Air Force Academy are open to this?
They are, yeah.
Oh, that's good.
The military has been very great, very open to having us there and present. So.
Okay.
Peter Herbeck's son, Josh, is at the U.S. Military Academy on the basketball team. He's a captain, senior, West Point.
West Point, yep.
Yeah.
West Point. Great. It's a great place. God bless him. We have Pat on the line. Hello, Pat.
Hello.
Hi, where are you from?
Minnesota.
Great. And what's your question?
Well, I'm interested in this topic. I've seen those letters, numbers in various places, so it must be quite a growing movement. The ID, I think, stands for intentional disciple. I'm wondering if the numbers stand for some sort of a biblical or scriptural citation, if they could explain that. And I want to just make a comment, too, that I think that what they're doing for the young adults can also reach for those children's parents, those young adults, parents, those college student parents, and then grandparents, people like myself, because they get on fire, and then that kind of spreads not just to the colleges, but to the older people, too. I just wanted to see if they thought that was something that they had found.
Thank you very much, Pat. All right, so she understands the ID is intentional disciple.
Right on.
9:16 stands for?
1 Corinthians 9:16, which again is St. Paul talking, and he's saying, "For necessity has been laid upon me. Woe to me if I do not preach the gospel."
Right. So it's 1 Corinthians chapter 9:16.
That's right.
And along with Pat's comment about the parents and grandparents getting fired up, how has this affected you, Danny?
Well, so just being around these guys has helped me understand. I've got adult children, and then I also have 4 grandsons. So by being around young people like this, it helps me to understand better what they're dealing with in their life, in their spiritual life. I travel around. I've been doing this for a long time, Father, and we do conferences. And the number one thing that affects people my age is adult children not practicing their faith, because they know if the children don't, the grandchildren are not. So it's a big concern, and we learn a lot. That's why I mentioned at the start of the show that this show is not going to be just beneficial to the young people. The older people are going to learn a lot from this.
And certainly I, as a priest who am standing at the altar, and I see out into the congregation, that there really is a very positive effect on the whole congregation when there are a lot of young people there as well. Gives a lot of hope to the older folks. So it's a great ministry. Speaking of younger folks, you are from where and whom?
I'm from Southeast Michigan, right near Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Great.
Very close to Pete.
And you're one of the young men on the show.
I am.
You are?
Joey McCoy.
Good to have you, Joey, because I'll certainly see you on the program. What is your question or comment?
My question is for Pete, and it's 2 questions, or 2-part question. First, what is the hardest aspect of reaching young adults? Actually, who are young adults, too? What does that mean? What is that age demographic? What's the hardest part about reaching them, and how do you combat that? Sure. How do you actually go out and reach them?
Good question, Joey. First part of it, who are young adults? Well, you can define it in a lot of different ways. We define it as 20s and 30s. So we're targeting the postgraduate young people in their 20s and 30s.
And it seems pretty fair. I mean, by the time you're 40, I think you're starting middle age.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Great. And then
I see
I'm
you
not
looking at me. I know. Right.
Well, I mean, Danny, I'm not that.
I blew by that years ago.
Yeah, so did I. I mean, the 40-year-olds could be our kids.
Yeah,
but
they are.
Yeah, in your case. But I definitely consider myself middle-aged after 40, and
right.
I'm going to stay middle-aged till I'm 70.
Yeah, me too.
At which point I'll renegotiate. Go ahead.
So the other part of the question, what's the biggest challenge? Well, I'll give you an example. I'll tell it in a story. Back a few years ago, if Joey had asked me to go out to a movie, I would have said, "Oh, that sounds good," and I would say, "Yeah, maybe I'll go." Well, what does that mean? Am I going or am I not going, right? And the reason I would have answered that way is because I wanted to keep my options open. Right. I would have wanted to be able to see, maybe even up until the last minute, then if my brother calls me and something better comes along, I wanted to be able to back out and go do something else. So one of the biggest things we deal with is simply just getting people to commit to even coming to a meeting, to being discipled. And it's actually very destructive if people can't commit to it, because you can't really be discipled unless you commit to the discipler, right? Unless you commit to learning from that person or being a part of something, you're really just kind of treading water and nothing substantial ever comes of it, right? And so getting the young adults to see that what we're doing is something that can really help them in their walk with the Lord, and then getting them to drop their nets and say, yeah, we want to do this with you, is a big challenge, for sure. And then what we're doing to combat it is really just kind of calling it out of people. to keep casting vision, say this is why it's important, this is why we want you to join us, this is why you're important to the ministry, and you need to do this. You know, you need to commit to something, and you need to be kind of say, yes, I sign up for what's going on.
Do you actually push to make that commitment?
We have to be prudent about it. You know, we don't push all the time, and depending on where, how many times they've been coming to a monthly meeting or how involved they are, but we're always gently encouraging more commitment. And what ID 916 is not designed to be the end-all be-all for a young adult. What it's supposed to be is a base level foundational piece that, along with their parish, it just gives them kind of a vision of what it means and some direct teaching on what it means to be a disciple, so that then they can go be involved in other things. You know, commit to teaching CCD, commit to going on a mission trip, commit to whatever your parish is doing. Go back to your parish and be an intentional disciple. Don't just stay with us. If we're just herding sheep into our kennel, then something's wrong. You know, we want to bring new people in, and then we want to send them back out to do the same thing.
Yeah, that certainly has an effect on other issues like vocations to marriage and other vocations.
Yeah.
You know, that you got to make a commitment, and you can't say, well, we'll sort of kick the tires here and check it out. No, let's make a commitment. We have a caller. Hello, John.
Hello.
Hello, John. This is John from Ohio.
It is.
Called a number of times. And what is your question, John?
Oh, big one. Father Mitch, Danny, you can maybe jump in and help with this one. What do you young guys do when you're trying to evangelize and you run into people that have psychological problems or possibly drug addiction? And I'll hang up.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, no, that's a great question.
It is.
The first thing that we want to recognize and what we train our missionaries to do is we're not counselors. And so we want to be very careful not to step into that role, but to recognize and be able to refer them to the chaplain. And the chaplain usually has great references in the area where we can get that person some help. And then as far as the drug addictions might go, there's obviously a lot of drug use and abuse on college campuses. And so depending on the severity of it, again, it would be the same thing, would be to find somebody to refer them to and to get them help, but not to not work with them, but to realize that what we're here to do is to introduce you to the person of Jesus Christ and to help you to receive his love and his mercy by inviting you to the sacraments. Outside of that, we'll be your friend and get you the help you need, but that's not what we do.
Yeah, right. No, that's important because those are very difficult issues.
Yep.
And it's complicated backgrounds, and it's important to get professional people.
Before you can deal with somebody that has alcohol or drug problems, you have to get them clean and straight first. So recommend going to AA or Narcotics Anonymous. Once they get clean and sort of sobered up, then you can start presenting a program to them. You can feed them that way. But when they're hurting like that, they just need help. And some of them need professional help, so you can send them there.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the studio audience. And speaking of the Danny Abramowitz, we have a Danny Abramowitz wannabe. So what's your name again?
My name is Ben Domang, and I'm from Lafayette, Louisiana.
Great place. Yeah, you got to go to Lafayette and eat because the food is fantastic down there.
You'll pack on some pounds for sure.
Yes,
my question is for Sam Azarali, and it is, you're going on campus and you'll encounter college students, but what about the different affinity groups? Is there anything specifically for them? They have athletes and different affinity groups as well. And then also another question is, y'all say you're missionaries in the States, but do y'all ever go out on missions, like foreign missions?
Yeah, thanks, Ben. So do we reach just general public on college campuses, or do we have outreach to specific groups on campus? And we do. We actually have Greek outreach, and so we have Focus Greek.
You speak Greek?
I do not speak Greek, but I'm really well at going into fraternities and sorority. So we have missionaries that maybe had come from Greek life as students that have a heart for reaching out to their house on the new campus that they're at. So we have that. And then we also have Varsity Catholic. And so it's usually athletes who become missionaries that, once again, they have a heart to reach out to athletes on the college campus. And then I guess the second question is, do we just stay in the States? And our primary role is to work with U.S. college students, but we understand that one of the most impactful ways that we can reach a U.S. college student is to invite them to go outside of the U.S. with us. And so we have mission trips all summer and during spring breaks. We invite students to come down and serve the poor and to evangelize in a third world country. And that has been probably one of the most impactful things that we've done for any of our college students. So,
well, that's very good. It really is, because it is a great experience to see, what we call poor in a lot of countries is middle class.
Yep.
And you see great difficulties, and you also learn a lot from poor folks. They have a lot to give, a lot to teach.
Yeah, we say, in discipleship, if we're working with a student, going on mission trip for 2 weeks is worth the same amount of investment as a year of investing in that person's life and meeting with them on a weekly basis. So it's that impactful.
Yeah. We have another caller. Hello, Marianne.
Hi, Father Pacwa. How are you?
Fine. Where are you from?
I'm from New York.
Great. Good to have you.
I just want to say it's a terrific show, and I just have a brief question for your two young guests. I'm just curious as to their backstory, how they got involved in ministry. Were they always interested? If they had a conversion? And just, if they could just provide a little bit of their background, how they came to be a part of ID 916. And thank you so much, and God bless you for all the work you do.
Well, she mentioned ID 16. We'll start off with you. What's sort of your background?
How much time do we have? No. To start, I guess I was born and raised in a good Catholic family, and was introduced to the Lord at a very young age. And the community in Ann Arbor was very influential in bringing me along and knowing Jesus and the power of the Holy Spirit. In terms of ID 916, I was at the University of Michigan, and things were going well, so I thought, and then the Lord decided that He wanted me to go to Franciscan University instead. So kind of all the doors closed at the University of Michigan, and I found myself at Franciscan U. Met my wife the second day there, and that confirmed a lot of things, And coming out of Franciscan, I just had this really a strong pull to do something for the Lord. I just, in thinking about my life, I couldn't think of anything more important to me than bringing people to Jesus. And so when I got back to Ann Arbor, I talked to Peter Herbeck and said, is there anything for Renewal Ministries that I could be a part of or whatever? And he said, well, we're trying to do something for young adults, and we're trying to, reach into that demographic. What do you think if we kind of partner here and see what we do? So you
were at the very beginning of ID 916.
Yeah. We were actually, the way it started is we just gathered a bunch of my friends, and Joey was part of it, and we went up north to northern Michigan and just had a retreat to see what the Lord wanted to do. We knew He wanted to do something, but we had no idea what it was. And this was only about 2 years ago. And we prayed, and out of that retreat, really ID 916 was born. And what I realized is this ministry, there was something to it. It was a God idea, not a good idea. It was the Holy Spirit was in this, because everyone we described it to, their eyes would light up and they say, there's something to this, right? And so I talked to my wife, and we just decided that this was something I could really put my weight behind, that we could really put as a family. My wife Kate and Grace and I, we're in this together. We're going for it for the Lord with ID 916. And so the journey was a gradual process of the Lord giving me lots of different experiences of Him and experiences sharing the gospel with friends and classmates and everything, to the point where I realized that that's all I want. That's really all I want to do.
Sam, how about you?
Yeah, I grew up with the faith, but when I graduated high school, I told my mom I was never going to church again. And off to college I went to the University of Northern Colorado up in Greeley. And my plan was not to not to be involved in the faith. I thought it was outdated, and I did not like all the rules and regulations that I perceived. And
which one of those two issues was more important in reality, looking back? The outdated or the rules?
You know, they were both just excuses, so they both really weren't issues.
Okay.
I just didn't want to go. I just didn't. I just didn't believe, to be honest. I just hadn't had an encounter with Jesus Christ, so everything else didn't matter. Right. And so I'm walking through the quad on the first day of school, and this guy's behind a table where all the organizations have tables, and this guy says, "Hey, are you Catholic?" And I wanted nothing to do with being Catholic, but my family's Catholic, and I have pride in my family. So I said, "Yeah, what is it to you?" And
sounds like my kind of language.
Yeah, and the gentleman said, "Oh, great. Well, I'm going to be leading a Bible study. Would you be interested in coming?" And I looked at him square in the face and said, "Absolutely not." And he said, "Well, if you change your mind, we'll be at this place at this time." And off I went. And later that night, I was sitting in my dorm room by myself, and I had nothing to do. And I didn't want to be that freshman in college, with nothing to do. So I was like, fine, I'll go to this stupid Bible study. And it just so happens that the Bible study was in my dorm, on my floor, just right around the corner. So God knew what he was doing. So all I had to do is walk out and sit on a couch. And I sat down. They opened up Scripture. And it's Scripture that I've probably heard, hundreds of times growing up. But they were able to apply it to my life. And it really, I was like, wow, this is kind of cool. And the other thing I realized was, these guys that are here at the Bible study aren't the type of guys I thought would be here. They're guys that I can relate with. So they invited me back. I said, okay, well, it's on Wednesday nights. That's kind of a big party night here at the school. So if you can do it early enough in the night, I'll come. And they were nice enough to do that for me so I could still go out and party. And so I lived that lifestyle, never going to church, but I'd go to Bible study every week. And then I ended up dropping out of college after that first semester. And I moved home to go make millions of dollars in real estate. And so I started pursuing my dreams, bought a house, did all these things, started making money. And I did that for about 3 years and started living the life that our society said was success. And but I'd wake up every day and I was miserable. And so I started thinking, if this is all life is, I don't want to live. So who in my life is happy, and what do they have that I don't have? Because then I'll just go buy it and then I'll be happy, right? So that Bible study leader, who was just a student, he was a Focus student leader, so he wasn't even a missionary, but he was a student working with Focus. And he stayed in touch with me for those 3 years. And he'd call me every 2 to 3 months just to check in. And at first I was really weirded out, but then I realized he really cared about me. So I called Paul and I said, Paul, what do you have that I don't have? He said, hey, why don't you come to church with me? I said, no, thank you. Well, later on, I ended up going to church with him, and he introduced me to the person of Jesus Christ. And 3 months later, I had quit my job and sold everything, and I joined Focus. And I've been doing that for the last 8 years.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's really, and that's encouraging to see, that you've sort of been around the block and tried various things and turned around. Now, we have just really a couple minutes left. Danny, you want to give any last reflections?
I think that people out there hearing these young people talk and some positive things happen, that for young people out there listening, join in, you get out there, get out and evangelize. If you're not going to church, try it, come back again. If you're doing it, step out and evangelize others, and then parents and grandparents support these guys in whatever way you can.
Yeah. You have any last minute and a half, any final reflections?
I know I'll be grilled on this if I don't say this, but we are for men and women. Okay, so young women, please come. They are pretty much the backbone of what we do. So we are looking for young men and young women. And if you want more information on how you can be a part of ID 916 and part of what we're doing, you can just go to ID916.com. Very simple, ID916.com.
And same with Focus, then. That's not just men, is it?
Nope. We have Bible studies for men and women.
Right. And they're women missionaries, Focus missionaries as well?
Absolutely, yep.
Yeah. So this is, we had actually a lady, we're running out of time. She didn't get to ask that question, but that's very important. But because it's all of us are involved in this ministry.
Absolutely.
It's just that, ladies have enough sense not to hang around with Danny because you never know what he's going to be up to.
I don't think I'm going to do.
Very good.
Well, that's very good. And, so do you have a website as well?
Yeah, people can go to focus.org. It's kind of our general website.
Okay.
Or if they want to lead a Bible study or get any of our material, you can go to focusequip.org and get all of our material and start using it in your parish or wherever you'd like to use it.
So focus.org.
Yep.
And ID 916.com.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you all for being with us. I really appreciate it. I'm glad that, really, Danny, you're doing a great job with this show, with the other guys, Peter and everybody else, but also bringing these new guys in is going to be a great thing. This is, I really enjoy, crossing the goal, and it's good to have y'all here. Let me give you all a blessing. May God bless and keep you, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
And we can do this series for all these years now of Crossing the Goal, plus this show and all the other programs because of you. You make it possible. So please, we get ready to celebrate our anniversary tomorrow for the network. Keep us in between your gas bill, your electric bill, and your cable bill, and we'll continue to pay our bills. Thank you.